Harshita, please start.
We almost have all the participants. A very warm good afternoon to everyone present here. I, Harshita Kotri, your host for today. On the behalf of my hardworking team and our Institute Delhi Metropolitan Education, welcome you all to the International Symposium on Deliberation on Rethinking the Environment, Sustainability in Modern Era. This is technical session 4, based on the various aspects of responses to climate change, analyzing its impact on sustainability. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to warmly welcome our honorable chairs for this session, Professor Ahmed Naseem, Mr. Sridhar Ramamurthy, and Professor Dr. Simranjeet Kaur Gill. Professor Ahmed Naseem is Head and Dean, Department of Law in Deen Dayal Upadhyay University, Gorakhpur. Sir has done his BSc from AMU and he is a gold medalist in LLB from AMU and qualified NET in 1997. And he has done his PhD from DDU Gorakhpur University. He joined DDU Gorakhpur University as a lecturer in 1998 and became associate professor in 2012, after which he proceeded as professor in 2015. His areas of interest include family law, environmental law, and human rights. Sir has published more than 15 research papers and is also the author of a book. We welcome you and we're delighted to have you here with us. We also have Mr. Sridhar Ramamurthy. He's a geologist from IIT Roorkee. Sir has worked with mainstream exploration organizations, Atomic Minerals Division, DEE, and later with ONGC Limited. He is certified in environmental risk management at Salzburg Seminars, Austria. He resigned from ONGC to begin working with communities on environmental and alternative technology issues, establishing environmental systems branch of development alternatives. He co-founded Taru 91, a leading development research group today. He has designed courses and taught at IRMA, Ambedkar University, ICED, CAG Sustainable Center, and is a visiting faculty at NASA University. We welcome you, sir, and we're delighted to have you here. We also have Professor Dr. Simranjeet Kaur Gill. Ma'am is specialized in criminal law and have completed her PhD in year 2014 on the topic criminality against women, a social legal study with special reference to state Punjab from Punjab University, Patiala. She is having 14.6 years of teaching and research experience. She has been invited as a resource person in the subject of cyber law under cybersecurity for delivering 32 educational television programs and equal e-content programs at the Multimedia Resource Center, Punjab University, India. The SAID program is sponsored by Ministry of Human Resource Development under the National Mission on Education through Information and Communication Technologies. E-content project from January 2016 to June 2016. Apart from that, she has been invited as a resource chairperson for various national and international conferences. She has got the various prestigious awards on organizations. She has published 30 research papers in different research journals of national and international repute with high impact factor. She supervised 17 research scholars of LLM and presently supervising 8 scholars of PhD. We are obliged to have you here with us, ma'am. Before commencing the session, I would like to inform all the participants that the total time allotted to the speakers is 10 minutes. The speaker shall be allotted 8 minutes for presenting and the remaining 2 minutes for the question by the chair. With due respect, with due permission of the chair, I would like to call upon our first presenters, Mr. Bright Fidi and Ms. Nivedita Basu, presenting on the topic, Climate Change, a Critical Analysis, its inextricable link with global security.
Right. Good afternoon. Am I audible, ma'am? Am I audible?
Yeah, you
Yes.
are.
Thank you so much. Let me just allow me to share the PPT.
So I think you have the rights.
It's disabled.
Sir, it's not disabled. I think you have the rights to share.
I cannot share my my PPT. It's disabled. Please allow me to share.
Sir, I think now you have the rights.
Now I can share. Okay, let me just check. Right. All right. Okay, is it clear? Are you able to see from there? Okay. My topic, as earlier discussed, is climate change and critical analysis, and this inextricably linked with global security. We read this paper with my colleague, Nibetita Mam, from Faculty of Law, that's Marad University in Gujarat. I would like to start by stating the fact that we cannot overemphasize the fact that climate change has brought a lot of negative effects. And these effects are quite apparent. We see them every day, we experience them every day. These effects they from rising sea levels, longer droughts, melting glaciers, heat waves, among others. Climate change has evolved. Now we're no longer seeing climate change as something that is just of a climate problem or probably an environmental problem. Climate change right now, we are seeing it as a threat to global security, right? So as the President of the United States, Joe Biden once noted, he said, climate change is now an existential threat to national security. That is true of that information.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt in between. We are not able to see your screen.
On my screen. Okay.
Yeah, your screen is not.
Just a second, let me just.
You haven't clicked that button.
Oh, it's showing as if it's sharing from here.
But you haven't yet opened that document. You need to open the document.
So let me just allow me
I
just
think some problem is there at your end.
Yeah, I may have some, but from here it's showing that the screen is still sharing.
No, actually, we are not able to see any document.
Let me stop and start again. All right. Let me just stop and start again. Are you able to see it now?
Not yet.
Yes, sir.
We are able to see your screen, but your PPT is not open yet. Your screen is visible, but you haven't opened your PPT.
From here, it's showing as if because my PPT is open from this end, but
You need to
I
click
don't know
on the
why I'm
PPT
not.
where you are.
Yeah, probably having a, I don't know, certain problem with this laptop, because it's showing as if from this end, I'm reading from my PPTs from this end. So
Are you able, Bright, to see your PPT on your screen?
yes, I'm able to see it. I'm reading from my PPT. And
You are
it's
able to
showing
see on
that
your screen, and it must be showing to us as well, because you're just viewing your screen only. If it is visible on your screen, it should be visible to us as well.
yes, that's where the problem is, because it's showing that my screen is being shared. On the other end, people are able to see it.
Your
So,
screen is
but
being
my-
shared, but your PPT is not open. I hope you're getting my point. You need to double click on your PPT. Where climate change, kindly open it.
Yes, my PPT is open. That's why I'm saying from this end, it's very visible. I can able to read. I'm reading from my PPT. That's where the problem is. I don't know where the issue is. I'm reading from my PPT because I've opened it.
All right, other panelists can give their review. If we are okay, then we can, just go on without PPT presentation. I don't have any issue regarding that.
Sir, mail it to the host, to Ashish. If it is convenient for you, you can mail it to the host and he'll share the screen.
All right, okay. I've mailed the PPT already to the hosts.
So they can
The
watch.
same I did, I think should be yesterday, but I can still mail it again. You can give me just 1 second.
No problem, no problem.
If the chairs are convenient, we can move on and get back to Mr. Bright.
Hello, sir. Still not visible?
Will not be.
Good afternoon to everyone present. I, Sujan Sana, your host for today. On behalf of my hardworking team and this institution, Delhi Metropolitan Education, wholeheartedly welcome you all to International Symposium on deliberations on rethinking the environment, sustainability.
The host can just, okay. Okay, I was just reading through the let me recheck again.
I would like to ask the chairs if it is possible that Mr. Bright can present the paper later, and we can move on to next participant for now. Okay, ma'am. Up next, we have Dr. Athira PS presenting their paper on green intellectual property and sustainability and analysis.
Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Your
ma'am.
screen is visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Yes, a warm good afternoon to one and all. Respected chairs and other participants. Just a moment.
Okay, your presentation, your PPT is visible. Go ahead.
I'm not able to control the system. So the topic that I would like to present today is green intellectual property and sustainability and analysis. So I would have divided for convenience and for clarity the presentation into three subtopics. The first is on significance of inventions on green technologies. And the second is on the importance of patents in this context. And the third is the specific context of India. Now, we understand that with respect to sustainable industrial practices, green technologies are being increasingly given great deal of significance. And the reason for that is very simple. We have come to an understanding that if we do not revamp the way that we have been treating our planet, then we are not going to come to a good end. So if you look at the various indices which are around, which have been brought out by different offices, by different international organizations, we find that we are in the 177th position as far as the World Environment Performance Index is concerned. And our score is only 30.57. This is of a great significance because we house more than 17.7% of the world population. As such, will you excuse me for a moment? I apologize. So as I was saying, so we have to evolve lots of new strategies which are environment conscious and environment friendly. And these practices are to be integrated with every single aspect of all industries. And that is something that we have come to. And if you look at the way that green technologies, especially with respect to the research and development of these are concerned, there's a great deal of trust which is being given across the world, especially in the developed sectors, developed countries as well. But in India, if you look at it, there are both public and private sectors, and we see usually that the significance of these have mostly come from public sectors in the beginning, whereas now the private sector is also catching up, particularly because of the involvement of different tax subsidies as well as others, which have been integrated into this particular field. And another feature that we usually see is with respect to what can be called as academic patents, wherein the patents are given or patents are taken by academia, students, teachers, as well as other universities, wherein the translation to feasible products in the market do not take place. So these are the real problems when we look at the whole aspect of sustainable industrial practice. Contemporary relevance of green patents. Again, there are lots of incentive reward theories which justify intellectual property rights. First is that intellectual property is required for stimulating research and development, and also the reward theory which says that the quid pro quo relationship between the inventor and the society is to be given a great deal of significance. At the same time, when we look at the neutrality of technological applications as far as Article 27 of the TRIPS agreement, the WTO TRIPS agreement is concerned, it says that states, it's the duty of the states to not discriminate based on the field of invention, which includes green inventions as well. The understanding that evolves from this is that no matter what kind of an invention you have, no matter in which field of technology, the states should grant patents without discrimination with the application of most favored nation theory or that particular doctrine to all applicants. If this is the case, then we do not have any leg to stand on when we say that we need a differentiated kind of position to apply to green inventions. The one exception that we can see here is the application of Article 27, Clause 2, which provides that members can exclude from patentability certain inventions, which you feel that if the commercial exploitation is allowed, it would be contrary to the public order, morality, or what is necessary to protect human, animal, or plant life or health, or to avoid serious prejudice to the environment. So these are exceptions which are inbuilt in the WTO international, the particular framework itself. This can be made use of by the different states. Now, in order to understand the impact of intellectual property, we need to understand that the World Intellectual Property Organization itself has kept these kind of inventions at a different footing. There is what is called as an IPC green inventory, which talks about the classification of green inventions or environmentally sustainable sound technologies, which are called ESTs. The parameters are given, and these are the different fields of such inventions: alternative energy production, energy conservation, transportation, waste management, agriculture, as well as forestry. Now, in these fields, the question is whether we should grant patents, because if you look at our national IP policy as well, we say that the more patents means the more development. Whereas this presents a bit of a dilemma, because if you say that granting of patents is what is advantageous, then we are actually enforcing and instituting monopoly rights, which are private in nature. And exclusion is the name of the game, where a person can, or a company can, or a firm can, or even a country, if you look at the entire landscape of such tech, you find that even countries can exclude others. And this is a bit of a problem, because environment is not a zero-sum game. And that is the major problem. Coming to the Indian position, we are a very paradoxical kind of, we have a very paradoxical kind of situation. We are one of the BRICS countries, though we are a lower middle income country, and we are a progressive accumulator because we have lots of green patents to our name. If you look at the landscape, global landscape of green tech, we find that we are one of the forerunners. Every second patent granted between these 5 years relate to a green or sustainable invention, which means that 50% of our patents falls within this particular category, which is a great, which is actually a big deal. And if you look at the right to development as well, as I mentioned earlier, we house 17.7% of the global population. And if we are not allowed to use the flexibilities inbuilt in WTO TRIPS agreement, as well as the right or the sovereign right of a nation, taking into account the whole concept of right to development, as Amartya Sen's philosophy says, if we do not allow the development to take place in a diffused manner, there is no point to it. And when we talk about it as a comprehensive agriculture, economic, cultural, and social and political process, what that means is that if everyone is not part of that process, then it is not really a a good one or an effective kind of a development process. Coming to one of the last slides, if you look at Article 7 of the WTO TRIPS agreement, the major stress is on transfer of technology, and it talks about this whole common but differentiated responsibilities and duties of governments, where the first duty is towards its people. Even after WTO agreement has come into effect, I do not think there is a difference in that. This itself brings to us exceptions, limitations like compulsory licenses, government use exceptions that we can actually employ. And the scope of voluntary licensing must be very, very significant, because we know that lots of trade secrets are also tied up with this. So unless and until transfer of tech takes place, mere compulsory licensing may not be sufficient. Another possibility is that of introduction of a tiered pricing structure, wherein depending on the specific nature of the tech, then the product, process, article, or composition of matter for which patents can be provided by the states, different strategies must be instituted in place. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the reason why we can claim this is because as the most populous country, one of the most populous countries in the world, arguably the way that we determine how sustainable tech is to be used and how intellectual property is to be used either as a weapon or as a facilitating device, it would have great significant planetary impact as well. Lastly, I would like to link the two international frameworks, the UNFCCC as well as the WTO, wherein we find that the flexibilities of the international regime of intellectual property has been reiterated in the UNFCCC as well, wherein we say that it must be used to the fullest extent by developing countries, because adaptation of policies for mitigation of climate change, so that there is a greater planetary improvement as well as repair. This is the need of the hour, and the use of this is very well iterated in these international instruments, and we as a country are well within our rights to use these flexibilities so as to ensure access, availability, and affordability of green inventions. I stop here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I request the judges, if they have any questions, they may ask.
Yes, very well
Up
presented,
next,
Mr. Aspa. It's all done from my side. You can ask someone else. Ashita, you can go ahead. We can call another participant.
okay, ma'am. Up next, we have, moving on to our next presenter, we have Neha Kachwaha presenting on climate breakdown and Earthling standpoint. Ma'am, kindly unmute yourself and present your screen.
Am I visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Just a minute. Is the screen visible, the PPT?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Can you make
very
it full
warm.
screen? It's visible. Can you make it full screen?
Just a minute, sir. There is a glitch between the...
Yeah, just click the icon below for full screen.
I'm not getting it. Is it visible now?
It's visible, but it's not on full screen mode. Then it will be clearer. Your fonts are small.
Ma'am, you can go to the slideshow.
Click the slideshow on the top. Slideshow.
There's no such option on the top.
No, on the PPT, either on the top slideshow or below where you find this, comments, and then there is a full screen mode.
It was showing. It was showing.
Yeah. In any case, go ahead. Otherwise, we are losing time.
So just a minute.
Exactly. Go ahead. Go ahead, the way it was.
So is it visible now?
It's visible. You can just move your cursor to the right hand corner in bottom, come to the bottom. You can see the percentage is given over there for zooming, and just before that there is a
Thank you.
just click it. Not to zoom, not.
No, that's not the proper.
Just move your cursor to the left. To the left. No, stop zooming in and zooming out. Just move your cursor to the left. You can see an icon over there. Or either what you can do, you can just move your cursor to the top. There is home, insert, design, termination, and after that there is slideshow.
Now,
Slideshow,
on the top.
yes. If there are
On the top.
options, let me ask.
Are you able to get it?
So there's no such option on the.
No.
Yes,
Come
it
to the
is.
top.
Yes, it is. It is
Where
very
you
much
can-
visible from here.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
it
can
is.
just see
You are unable to find on the top left.
on the top.
It is the sixth one. It is the sixth one. You are on home. You should move rightward, and the sixth one is slideshow. When you will click slideshow, it will give option from the beginning or from some other page. On the top, there are two red bars.
Just above the font one.
Yeah,
Yes.
you are on the right hand side. Come to the left hand side. Move your cursor to the left, extreme left, extreme left. Over there you are on file. After this there is home, and
Move
just
rightward. Oh no.
I think we should go ahead the way it
yes,
is
yes,
rather
yes,
than
yes.
wasting our.
Okay.
Yes, yes,
Allow her
yes,
to allow her to do that.
yes,
Allow her to
yes.
do that.
Okay, so thank you
It's
so
okay,
much.
Neha. You kindly proceed in that way only.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, proceed.
So my
proceed.
topic is climate breakdown and earthling standpoint. Climate is an average weather condition of a given place or an area over a period of time. Like in India, for example, the northern parts like Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh experiences cold and snowy weather, whereas at the same time, Mumbai, Maharashtra, which is bordered within the Arabian Sea, remains at 27 degrees, which in present time is showing very fluctuating and different weather conditions, and the temperature with the matter of concern for both the government, which is very concern of matter for both the government and the people residing there. I would like to come at the point of clothes, the raw materials which we use, how they are influencing the climate change. According to the report, clothing is independently responsible for 3% to 6.7% of carbon emission globally. Fabrics like polyester, acrylic, cotton, rayon, nylon, and some other material which are non-biodegradable, which takes almost 20 to 200 years to break down. These materials need tons of water to produce a single piece of clothing, and some of them release microplastic during the use and amid washing, which is very harmful to both the environment and the skin. Fabrics like recycled cotton, organic hemp, organic linen, tencel, and many other fabrics are excellent breathable materials for clothing, and these are eco-friendly too, and also feels great on the skin. Coming to plastics, the use of plastics these days has been one of the most important part of our daily life. we stay and look around in our surroundings nearby, we can say every other thing is made of plastic or any non-biodegradable material. Usage of plastic has increased so much from last 2 decades and has become the most significant part of every individual's life. Today, every packaged food we are eating is either packed in plastic, glass, or metal container, which is very harmful for one's health. Studies reveal that the chemicals used to produce plastics are detrimental and harmful to human health. Chemicals such as lead, mercury come in direct contact with the human body, which causes cancer, immune system problems, childhood development issues, and many other severe diseases. One cannot completely abandon the use of plastic from their life, till we all can try to evade it as much as possible and try using substitutes like using jute bags, using bags made of recycled paper bags. Coming to the next, another reason responsible for the climate change is air pollution. The air pollution is the contamination of the indoor and outdoor atmosphere by any chemical, physical, or biological matter that changes the natural features of the atmosphere. Household combustion devices, motor vehicles, industrial facilities, and forest fires are familiar sources of air pollution. Significant public health concern pollutants include particulate matter, carbon monoxide, ozone, nitrogen dioxide, and sulfur dioxide. Outdoor and indoor air pollution causes respiratory and other diseases and is an essential source of morbidity and mortality. Air pollution kills an estimated 7 million people worldwide every year. The data of WHO shows that almost all the global population, 99% breathe air that exceeds WHO's guidelines limit, containing high level of pollutants, with low and middle income countries suffering from the highest exposure. Now coming to the reasons for increasing climate change, since the Industrial Revolution, human activities and doings have changed and increased the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which is rapidly changing the Earth's climate. Be in the harmony with the reports of UN, if carbon emission continues to rise, so will the Earth's temperature will. The Earth's temperature has already increased by 1.1 degrees Celsius than it was in late 1800s. The 2011 and 2020 was the warmest decade on record. Temperature rise is just the beginning of the story. Everything in the ecosystem is related and connected. And if there is a change in any single area or the part, it will influence all the other areas alarmingly. In the vicinity, a lot of changes has been made globally. The rapid increase in infrastructures, buildings, roads, agricultural lands for cultivation and irrigation has also been declining with the large numbers with growing population. According to some data, India's cultivable lands is decreasing every year at the portion of 30,000 hectares. Since 1989, the total decrease reported is 30.192 lakh hectares, which is very serious. The rapid surge of construction buildings, industries, bridges, dams, and roads is gradually deteriorating the flora and fauna, forests, and many species, making carbon emissions worse. Do you know that up to 40% of world species live and breed in wetlands? They are vanishing with the time at a much faster rate. Now, what are the wetlands? Wetlands are the area where the soil is covered by water. Marshes, swamps, and fens are some of the examples of these. Wetlands help purify pollutants from water, curtail disaster risk by sorting excess flood water, and deliver means of support to over 1 billion people. Furthermore, we celebrate World Wetland Day on 22nd of February every year. Rise in urbanization has placed much more pressure on both the planet and the forest. Forests are the birthplace and home to maximum of Earth's biodiversity. They provide a significant amount of water, livelihood, ease climate change, and very important for the production of food and other raw material like rubber. Forests cover around 31% of Earth's area, but not as an equal portion meant for every country. Countries like Russia, China, US, Canada, Brazil, covers half of the world's forest. Despite that, deforestation and forest degradation are rising at an upsetting rate, which might result in significant loss of biodiversity and increased climate change effects, which will significantly impact human lives. These forests are not just restricted with trees. Still, according to reports, they are blessed with many different species that range from 3 million to 100 million fungi, insects, microorganisms, reptiles, mammals, and plants. The forest in both developed and developing countries in all climatic zones provide livelihood to most communities using forest products for food, fodder, shelter, energy, medicine, and income generation. Articulating another profound reason for the rise in carbon emission is increasing use of animals. There is an increased consumption of animal meat, chicken, lamb, beef, and pork, resulting from a rise in carbon gases in the environment. These animals go through so much of pain and suffering. They are confined in a very adverse condition and transported to different animal slaughterhouses, where they are kept without food and water. Females in the dairy industry are forced every year to get pregnant, and they nurse and produce milk that humans procure for sale. Be in harmony with the reports of UN Food and Agriculture Organization, the total global meat consumption has increased 60% between 1990 to 2009 and is expected to rise by 1.7% per year through 2022. This has fostered the concern of scientists and about the environment impact. Tons of animals are eaten all over the globe, including horse in France, Italy, Japan, and others, dogs in China, South Korea, and Vietnam, cats in China, whales and dolphins in Japan, Alaska, Siberia, Greenland, and Iceland. Nevertheless, most meat consumed by humans is beef from cow, pork from pigs, poultry from chicken, ducks, goat, mutton from sheep and goat.
Neha, can I interrupt you in between? Kindly don't read it out the things. We should be, discuss very confinedly what you want to convey. So it will be much time taking if you will be just reading the slides.
Okay, ma'am. So my point is here that what we can take measures to curb these climate changes. One of the main and center of the point can be the veganism. We can opt for veganism to curb and to to prevent these climate change, which is happening so rapidly. We can go for veganism. According to the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, around more than 1/4 of total greenhouse gas emissions. Just a minute, ma'am. And there is someone outside making noises. I can't speak right now.
Neha, have you concluded? Have you concluded?
Sir, just a minute. I'm concluding it only.
Concluded. Quickly.
Yes.
Do that quickly.
Yes, ma'am. So the measures we can take for climate change is first the veganism. We can opt for veganism, which is the in today's time is the best solution for us to curb and prevent these climate changes. Secondly, we can go for more. We can reduce the use of fossil fuels, which are increasing every day. Fossil fuels are non-renewable resources, and currently they are supplying 80% of energy around the globe. The decomposition of buried carbon-based fumes forms these. They are also used to manufacture plastic, steels, many other ranges of products. The primary type of fossil fuels are gas and coal. These fossil fuels are burned, they release a massive amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, resulting in increased greenhouse gas. So by 2020, Earth's surface temperature was 1.76 degrees Fahrenheit, which is hotter than the 28th century's average temperature. This can further risk the rising sea level, melting glaciers, extreme weather conditions, loss of biodiversity, and etc. So I want to conclude it. if this planet is doing so much for us, we can give back the same number of efforts and to protect it by fulfilling our needs and wants and desire. Climate change from the last 1 decade has become a matter of concern around the world, and the increasing effects of this crisis are distressing the human lives of animal species, and creating situations like earthquake. So reducing carbon emissions and lowering Earth's temperature are the primary concern area. Producing eco-friendly products using renewable resources and accepting veganism by eating plant-based products instead of meats of different animals, and lowering the use of plastic and other harmful metals are critical actions for the planet to make it a better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I would request the chairs if they have any questions, they may ask.
Yes, can I take a lead? Neha, you have discussed very briefly about the concerns that how environment is affecting, the everything around the globe, whether it's polarized, whether it's clothes, whatever the things you are talking about. But, you need to try to understand that in this international conference is basically on the deliberation. We are supposed to think about the solution. What are the problems are there related to the environment, urbanization, industrialization, and whatever the, non-biodegradable things we are getting used in the system, which are mainly affecting our environment. We all know about the same, but you have, very briefly talk about the solutions, and solutions are also not that solutions which are, covered each and every point. Like you are talking about veganism, and it's, how it is, you are giving the example that we are using many things non-biodegradable like laptop. So what you give the solution for the same? Do you think there is an alternative for the same? We should, really work upon that, what kind of solution being a mankind, because we are already, affecting the nature at another level. So what we can contribute, what solution you think for the same?
Ma'am, we cannot say no to laptops or phones because it is very important for today's life. But we can say no to meat paradox, which is increasing day by day. We can decrease that because it too is affecting the environment at a great span, because the cows and the goats which are being cutted in the slaughterhouse is also affecting the climate a lot, because they are first they are grazed by making them eat soya and all the agricultural plant-based things, which is also affecting the fertility of the soil. So,
So for all those non-biodegradable things, you don't think so there is any solution for the same?
and we
Yes.
we can reduce the use, we can decrease the use, but we cannot say no to things. But we can substitute things with the another substitute. Like if I'm using plastic bag, I can instead use a jute bag for that.
So basically, Neha, again, my concern is that, we are really having very less alternatives.
Yes.
So we are so much dependent upon the things which are actually affecting our environment. So what we are deliberating on this, what we can do upon this. I think, for all other participants, we should be more focused on this. We should be more inclined towards that. We should be sharing the different ideas that what we can use, what we can, reduce. So as very typically we all, I think all are in the session have read in their own schools, 3 hours, right? So, but it's okay. Very well presented, Neha. It's done from my side. Anything else from other side, they can ask. Thank you.
Neha, I had a simple question. Is there any quantification that you have tried to do, or that might be the next, like Dr. Simran has been saying, a solution? What kind of, now we know different sources which are causing climate change. So when you emphasize on meat or meat eating, what kind of a trajectory you see, which will reduce, because sometimes, what we think may not be a significant change in the overall one. For instance, fossil fuel use could be a major kind of cause for it. So when we are finding solutions also, if we are able to quantify, and you can also see some of the IPCC reports which kind of apportion the causes, I think that will be helpful for you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is that a question?
Have you seen any quantification, or have you tried that?
So I am not able to hear you properly. The quantification afterwards, what you have spoken, I haven't heard it properly.
No, have you tried quantifying, like when you say veganism,
Yes.
if 20% of the population which is currently meat eating, if it shifts to veganism, how much of climate will benefit? Is there any quantification or no?
Sir, I don't have the exact data, but it can help a lot because as I've told to Simran ma'am also, that the increased use, or we can say the increased eating of meat and pork, and these are being first they've been put in the slaughterhouse. They're been
We know that, we know that. That's what Simran madam is also saying. We know all that. The question is, like, if all the people, there will be a significant improvement, or it is going to be only marginal. For instance,
there will be a significant change, because the meat is not only eaten in India.
My point is that significance has to be expressed in terms of certain quantification, right? Otherwise, it will be seeming that it is Neha's impression, right? Not a solution, right?
Yes.
Okay. I got my answer. You have not quantified.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you, sir. So I would like to request the chairs kindly switch on their cameras during the session. And I would like to call, with due permission of the chairs, I would like to call Mr. Bright Firi and Ms. Nivedita Basu, presenting on the topic climate change, a critical analysis of its inextricable link with global security. Ma'am, kindly, you are sharing your screen, ma'am. Neha, ma'am. It's still visible. I would like to call Mr. Bright Firi and Nivedita Basu, presenting on the topic climate change, a critical analysis of inextricable link with global security. Ma'am, kindly, sir, kindly present your paper.
Harshita, one request for all the participants that kindly suggest them not to read whatever they are, presenting. They just need to confine it very clearly, just in a very few minutes. Otherwise, session will be going so long.
I'm so sorry, ma'am. You were not audible. I didn't hear properly. So sorry.
Now I'm audible to you?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Yes, Harshita, I was just saying that kindly, inform all the participants that they should be very, very confined at the time of presentation. Don't take much time. Most of them are reading, so it will be taking much time. A session will be very long. Thank you.
Mr. Brightfield and Nibita Babasu, I would like to request you to present your paper. With due permission of the chair, I would like to move on to our next participant. Next, we have Ms. Priya Totle presenting on a review on environmental impacts of electronic vehicles.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, you're
Am I
audible.
audible? Thank you. Good afternoon, all of you. Myself, Assistant Professor Priya Totle from SNPP Law College, Pimpri, Pune. First, I would like to thanks to the organization for giving me this opportunity. First, I would like to explain the concept of electric vehicles. This concept was introduced for the first time by Envoys Jetli in 1882. In India, first time this concept introduced by the in India, for the first time, this concept introduced by Scooters Private Limited in 1996. As we know, electric vehicles are environment free, but still they cause some climate impact and pollute the environment through manufacturing process and disposal process of the batteries. According to the experts' analysis, manufacturing and disposal method of the electronic batteries cause around 15% of environment burden and around 50% of environment damage due to the manufacturing and mining of the copper and aluminum. Next is impact of electronic vehicles on environment. First is the production of e-vehicle. During the production of e-vehicle, the lithium-ion batteries are used, which contain cobalt, nickel, and graphite. The expert found this process is water intensive as it required 5 lakh gallons of water to refine 1 ton of linear component. Also, a study done in China, this found that the battery used for electronic car produce 60% more CO2 than traditional engine. So these electronic vehicles having some negative impact on the environment. Next is a mining process of lithium, cobalt, nickel, and graphite. In mining process of the lithium, one of the major effect of this mining is water pollution. Also, in cobalt mining process, the electricity powers is required, which have negative impact on the atmosphere and the emission of CO2 and NO2. The nickel mining process also have some negative impact on the environment as a throw harmful element under the surrounding and ecological system, and it get spread through the air and affect the environment. Graphite mining process is also cause dust emission. In China, graphite trend report, it is found that the graphite mining process pollute the local air and the water quality and having harmful impact on workers and community. Next is a recycling process. There are 3 recycling process: pyrometallurgical process, hydrometallurgical process, and mechanical process. In all this process, environment is affected because in the pyrometallurgical process, lithium cannot be recovered as because of the organic resources such as paper, plastic is burned, and lithium always left in the slag. So there is no proper process or technology for the recycling of these batteries. Next is disposal of electric vehicle battery. Once the batteries are completely drained out, there is no use of these batteries, and ultimately it discard into the garbage, and they end up in landfills where they decay and leak. as batteries destroy their chemicals, soak into the soil and contaminated groundwater and surface water, which cause environment pollution. Next is the Indian legal perspective on environment, on electric vehicle. Article 21 and Article 19, Clause 1 of G also provide certain provision on the environment. So under Article 21, pollution-free environment is recognized as a fundamental right, as well as in landmark case MC Mehta versus Union of India 1987, the Honorable Supreme Court held that every citizen of India having the basic right to live in pollution-free environment. Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause G of Indian Constitution, they also guaranteed freedom of trade. But this right is not absolute. It's subject to restriction. So no trade can be conducted in a way which cause environmental pollution. So this battery disposal system violating the Article 21 and 19, Clause 1 of the Constitution of India. A precautionary and pollution pay principle recognized under landmark case Velour Citizen Welfare Forum versus Union of India in 1996 can be implemented against the electric battery manufacturers. The Poor Waste Recycling and Disposal System also violates the provision of Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981 and Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974. And disposal of these batteries. Currently, the electric battery disposal is covered under E-Waste Management Rules 2016, but these rules are found not to be sufficient to resolve the environmental issues. A bill named Battery Waste Management Rule 2020 is pending. If it is implemented, it can function and resolve these issues. In United States, to regulate these, the provisions are given under Clean Water Act and the Clean Air Act. The battery waste fall within the 65 categories of priority and other related components are to be discharged. Then the permission from the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System is required. Conclusion and suggestion. Vehicles are alarming. The government shall take initiative to adopt the proper procedures for disposal of damaged electric batteries. And the reason behind this is a source of energy if used during the manufacturing process. The carbon footmark of the batteries will be reduced if the batteries are made through the greener electricity sources, which are renewable and nuclear. The geothermal power was invented by the Germany company for the production of the e-vehicle batteries, which has 0% carbon dioxide emission. This project is good enough to produce 10 lakh batteries per year. Such eco-friendly techniques shall be implemented in India to protect the nation from the environment pollution. So my suggestion is that if there is a need that the government of India should take initiative and make some legal provision for the disposal of these batteries. During the recycling process, also soil is damaged. So the land restoration activities is required to recover this soil from the damages. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Priya, for the wonderful presentation. I do think, electrical vehicle can be a big relief to the environment. But whenever we are talking about any kind of solution, then there's problem attached with. So I personally think that electrical vehicles are not, much useful in our country. There are a number of reasons for that. One is we don't have any much, still in, I don't know about your state, but in our state in Punjab here, we haven't much fuel stations, there is no system in the fuel station about the battery recharge. So our country needs to develop at that extent whenever we are talking about electrical vehicle. Another concern is, electricity. it will not be an easy to the pocket because electricity is not as cheap in our country what we are expecting. Another thing is, I heard somewhere, I think Mr. Sridhar will be a better to explain it on the that manufacturing of the battery of electric vehicle. I heard it somewhere, I don't know whether it's right or not, that it is actually affecting the environment the way we cannot even imagine. So I just want to take your inputs on that.
During the manufacturing process.
During the manufacturing, during the fuel station also, how much it will be easy to use, I don't think so in the next 5 to 6 years, we can imagine the whole electrical vehicles in our country.
Yes, I agree with you, ma'am. But as our government is also encouraging for use of electric batteries, and government is working for making to make available this electric charging center and all this. But for manufacturing process, CO2 is more come through that manufacturing process. If we use that geothermal power, it will reduce that emission and it will helpful.
All right. Thank you.
No, I just wanted to, one is, there is this whole concept of life cycle analysis. If you look at life cycle analysis of using electric vehicles, so only we are shifting the problem from one kind of source to the other. For instance, if we are currently suffering from fossil fuels, in future it might be, because as a geologist, I know any of these materials that you are saying, cobalt or lithium or any of them, they are available in such low quantities. Like for instance, you may get only 1 gram of cobalt in a ton of rock. So we will be doing a lot of environmental damage in that sense. The second also, like Dr. Simran pointed out, electricity is not only not cheap, but actually we know that the places where this power is generated, where thermal power plants are there, where other kind of power plants are there, those people are suffering the pollution. So we living in urban areas, we might seek electric vehicles and reduce our pollution on the road, but the pollution will be continuously increased and more for the people. So we have been advocating the idea of a life cycle kind of an analysis to look at how much of impact is there in mining the resource, then transforming the resource into a usable form, and then as you also rightly pointed out about disposal of things and remediation. So when we look at the life cycle, what is apparently a solution today may be a big problem tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
This is what I want to hear from you, Sridhar sir, because basically you are much into the line. We are the legal person. We don't know much about all these kind of major concerns. So thank you so much, Priya. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. With your permission, I would like to call upon Mr. Brightfield and Ms. Nivedita Basu presenting on the topic, climate change, a critical analysis of its inextricable link with global security.
Right, good afternoon. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
All right, okay, let me just try now to share the screen. Come and help me share the screen. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay. अरे मेरा आईडी लॉगिन है क्या वो?
Which one I'm supposed to
तो climate change. Right. Oh, this comes up. This.
no slide?
This is like this one, not the one which is in red. I need the PPT here. It doesn't slide. I think that's why I had yeah, open that as okay. So now I think wow. It's sharing now?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Hello, excuse me. Hello, hi, able to hello. Hello. Am I visible? Audible?
Yes, sir, you are visible and audible.
All right, thank you. I'm having a problem with my PPTs failing to open, so I don't know if I can be allowed to go ahead just read through my research paper or just present using my research paper. Just asking for the indulgence of the admin.
Yeah, Dr. Piri, why don't you tell about the highlights of your presentation, because we have already lost a lot of time.
I'll not just, I'll make sure that I stick to my 10 minutes. I'll just go run through it, just the highlights, then let me go ahead. All right. So my highlight, basically, I'm trying to talk about the effect of climate change, which we all are aware. We see them every day and experience them, the heat waves, the flooding, and all these things that we see around which are negatively affecting our daily lives. These factors come as a result of reliance on industrialization by, we cannot generalize it to say by every country, but by the Western world, the richer countries who are relying heavily on this fossil fuel and industrialization. So it's based on that fact that they are releasing a lot of gases, toxic gases into the atmosphere, which are polluting the environment. And we'll see another fact that we cannot dispute is the people who are suffering the most are the people who are in lower countries, low income countries. They are depending on the goodness of the weather for them to thrive economically. So for the richer world to come in and advise the smaller countries, the developing countries who are just coming up today and telling them to say you must switch to greener energies is unrealistic, and that is not attainable at all. Because I can take, for instance, my country, Zambia, where I come from, we rely heavily on this on hydroelectric power and agriculture and the tourism. All these things, they depend on the goodness of climate change. Now, when you see that such a country needs a lot of help with regards to monies to be pumped in, so that such a country can be able to switch to greener energies. But you understand that from the Western perspective, these are the people who are supposed to support such smaller countries in Africa, but they've failed to live up to their commitments. When you look at the pledges they made in 2010, they made pledges that they'll be donating about $100 billion annually to this noble cause. But up to now, as we're talking, we've only seen countries receive up to 26% of that amount. Even the countries, the bigger economy countries like the US, Australia, and Canada, they've failed just even to live up to their commitments, even to remit up to 50% of that actual amount they pledged. So you understand that it's very, very difficult for a country like in Sub-Saharan Africa that is dependent on these same monies to be able to divert or to be able to move into greener energies, they've failed lamentably, and we've seen that the effects are getting much worse in those countries. My argument, as I've likely put it, that this is also threatening the security of the nations. When you look at the climate refugees, countries are able to close borders, and people are fighting for the smaller few resources like water around Ethiopia. There, we're talking about droughts and everything. Those are prone conflict areas where you find that the youths who are unemployed, who are lacking water, they are easily indoctrinated into some kind of Islamists, where they are told to say they're promised a better tomorrow, because they suffer a lot as a result of these same climate disasters, and they're easily swayed into believing that there will be a better tomorrow, perhaps, if those same people who are behind the same insurgencies in those countries tend to promise them to say you will have a better tomorrow when you're able to fight or to enter in this kind of wars. So this is a link to a national security, because a country like I've put Zambia as my example, because when you look at the disasters, when you feel like one bridge has been broken down, has been swept away by rains, you find that the money that was supposed to be put to be invested into national security to be diverted into this country, into these emergencies that do come in. While in some other countries like the US, the buildings that are designed that side have been designed to withstand such weather. So even if they will be affected, the government will be able to come on board and be able to help such a country or such a people to be able to come out of such disasters. While in Africa, you find that the hospital that was built by cheap quality building materials, it's able to be swept away so easily. And then a child who's able to walk like 10 kilometers to access school or health facilities, they're unable to do that, because for such a country to rebuild from where that from the disaster is so the cost is so huge, and the country cannot be able to make it in terms of rebuilding from such disasters. That is in terms of climate resilience program. So our core, or the argument of this paper, is that smaller nations, in order for them to come out of this problem, otherwise we'll keep on talking like the COP26 that came in and has gone. It ended up just in empty promises, like they always do. They always pretend, because they come in their private jets, like what happened last month. They came with about 116 private jets. That's about 1,000 tons of carbon dioxide that is going to be released into the atmosphere as a result of that, just one conference. So you find that a person in Africa, they are suffering at an expense of these same people. Who are there just to make empty promises. But the poor child in Africa is suffering. Looking at them, they only release, there was a study that was done to say they only release about 1%, or 1% when an American citizen will release about 33 times the amount of emissions into the atmosphere. So you find that these people who are suffering the brunt of this same climate change are paying the price for things that they do not cause to the environment. They definitely need help, but that help is not coming up from the Western world. It's pretense on their area, and in that area to call on these smaller countries or poorer countries to switch to greener energies, where themselves they are unable to do that. That's where I end my presentation. So I would like to invite questions if there's any.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Bright. A wonderful presentation done by you. My question from you, yes, that climate change is surely a biggest concern for all over the globe. And, as you talk about that, there's a need of security for the same. But apart from, there are many factors for the same, for which are affecting the climate change. What do you think is the major factor which is affecting our climate, and what you give a solution for the same?
Okay.
There is not a one reason for the same. There are a number of factors. According to you, which is the major one?
Okay, the major factor is industrialization. Industrialization, yes. Countries have, like in the Western world, the pollution levels are so high, just not only in terms of the Western world. We can talk about even here in India, where I am right now. The experience of when you go to Delhi, it's you cannot really like it because a lot of people are getting sick and stuff like that because of air pollution. It's as a result of industrialization and people being careless in terms of the way they, in terms of manufacturing, people are more, right now they are opting for faster foods and fashion wise, they need to have those trends and everything.
Right, industrialization is something very important for the growth of any country. So we can't stop it. So what do you think? We have to, it's very important part when we're talking about the progress of the state. So what do you give a solution for the same?
The solution is to switch to greener energies in terms of the bigger economies, because we're talking about 10% of these countries that are releasing about 50% carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So if these developed countries, they can take a lead by switching to greener measures of trapping this same carbon dioxide, or trying to get into scientific research where they can be able to trap this carbon and be able to make into some sort of something more valuable, trap it or bury it somewhere. There was some study that was carried out last year where they can be able to trap this carbon dioxide and then trap it or bury it somewhere, but in the future it can be reused to something else better than just letting go into the atmosphere like that.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to our next participant, presenting on gender and climate change, we have Mr. Pramod Kumar Gangur and Mr. Mohammad Tariq.
Hello, I am audible.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mohammad Tariq. I am a research scholar from MJP Rohilkhand University, Bareilly. Today, I am going to present a paper titled Gender and Climate Change without PowerPoint presentation.
Sir, can you just switch on your camera, please?
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you. Sorry, sir. I am visible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So, okay. So I am going to present a paper titled Gender and Climate Change. Environmental issues in India should be understood somewhat differently than in Western countries. Here are women experience environmental problems in a slightly different way. Although women are often more exploited and more burdened in the event of such environmental disasters, but there are many such incidents where women have played a very important role in the work of development. For example, the Chipko movement. One in the degradation of these resources in the quantity and quality, and second is the loss of rights of the local communities on these resources due to government control and privatization. It can be seen these two problems as the fundamental causes of the problems of class and gender-based injustice in the context of the environment. Other secondary reasons include population growth, lack of traditional management, limited selection in the agriculture sector, ignorance of traditional knowledge, etc. The points listed above are closely related in the issue of gender-based justice, as women and girls suffer the most in the event of environmental degradation. The first reason for this is that there is a discrimination in the society regarding the rights and access to resources. The second reason is that the status of men and women is not equal in terms of access to essential nature resources due to environmental degradation. Women have to face many bad effects, like they have to spend more time for fodder, wood, water, have to earn extra work, more on health, nutrition, etc. The bad example of the for this. To deal with water crisis, one village here has come up with an unusual solution, indulging in polygamy, which is crime in Hindu Marriage Act. This means having more than one wife to procure water, termed as water wives. Dengamal is a small village in western Maharashtra, located some 185 kilometers away from the Mumbai. Wives named Panibai leaves at sunrise through the rocky hills. In Maharashtra, एक व्यक्ति 3 वाइफ्स रखता है, 2 या 3 वाइफ्स रखता है, और जब शाम हो जाती है तो वो दूसरी वाइफ पानी लेने चली जाती है. तो जेंडर डिस्क्रिमिनेशन का बहुत to discuss the suggestion for adjustment of women and girls of these climate change. This paper, based on the secondary data, climate change refers to a historical change in the pattern of average weather conditions. The availability of the natural resources in the country has decreased due to 2 important interlinked reasons. One is the degradation of these resources in quantity and quality, and second is the loss of rights of the local communities on these resources due to government control and privatization. The 2 problems are closely related to the issues of gender-based justice, as women and girls suffer the most in the event of environmental degradation. The first reason for this is that there is a discrimination in the society regarding rights and access to resource. The second reason is that the position of man and woman is not equal in terms of access to essential natural resources. Women play a major role in gathering fodder, fuel, water, and food. Therefore, due to degradation in forest or environmental, women have to work harder and spend more time for these works. By the year 2030, all the countries of the world are striving to achieve the goal of the eradicating poverty, ending hunger, inequality between men and women, gender justice, economic equality, and ending other inequalities under their global agenda, so that future generation. In fact, the economic and environmental damages caused by climate change are discussed in almost all forums, but the social problem arising from these losses, especially the gender-based problem, are rarely debated. The concept of gender justice and the gender inequality has now become widespread. In this, along with women, now the right of third gender community are also being included. Climate change presents both direct and indirect threats or impact to human rights. It is also affecting the right to food, right to water and sanitation, the right to access to affordable commercial energies, by extension, the right to decentralized and equitable development, mass forces migration, threats from climate-related conflict situations, direct and indirect threat to health and health system, and the impacts on land and livelihoods caused by disasters. These issues show the climate change and human rights concerned and intervened. The first reason for this, that discrimination on right and access to resources continues in the society and remains the privilege of certain sections. The second reason is that the status of women and men is not equal in terms of access to essential natural resources. It is true that climate change is directly and indirectly harming women's right. The increasing unemployment and poverty has a direct impact on the condition of women. Women play a major role in gathering food or fuel, water, and food. It has been observed that where these problems are more complex, the school dropout ratio of girls' children is higher. Here, the rate of child marriage, the rate of other crime against women is also high. Due to this, the status of women on average becomes weak. The frequency of intensity of disaster have increased due to climate change. During this period, the effect of these disasters are more on women and children than on men. Similarly, the 2004 earthquake, the tsunami have shown how Indian women are more affected during disaster. During this period, women are killed in 4 times the number of men in the affected areas. Another report shared jointly by the United Nations Environment Programme, the United Nations Organization for Women Empowerment, and United Nations Development Programme, and the United Nations Department for Political and Peace Building Affairs. These report titled Gender and Climate Change Explore.
Please kindly conclude your topic, please.
Let me complete. Suggestion: education, some suggestion: education, the way for girls and women to fight climate change. Number 2, family planning program builds. Number 3, girls and women hold the key to sustainable smallholder farming. 4th, women's leadership puts climate solution at the fair. 5th, investment in women and in community. Conclusion: development is not only an economic and social need, it is also the best measure adopted for climate change. In order to protect the fundamental human rights of life, health, and livelihood of vulnerable sections, it is necessary that we promote such development which can enhance the capacity, competence, and skill of such special section to face challenges and at the same time successfully implement climate change measures. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mohammed, during your presentation, can you tell me again what was your topic of presentation again?
Gender and climate change.
Gender and climate. And I don't know, I will be waiting from Mr. Shridar's side also that what will be his inputs on this. But I was, number of times I was disagree with your statements. Like number of times in your presentation, you have said that women are not entitled to use the natural resources and you demand for right to equality for the same. Can you give an example for the same, where you are asking and why, on what particular statement you are giving these remarks? Where women are not entitled to use the natural resources, where? You have used this word number of times in your presentations. Is I'm audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
All right.
I think he has not heard the question.
I am not able to see him, sir, in the, I don't know. Mr. Mohammed, are you there in the session?
Yes, left the session.
I think so that he has left the session.
It's okay. My question was that bad?
Okay. No, ma'am, it was quite clear. And
it's okay, because number of times he told that women are not entitled to use the natural resources, and being a legal person, I am quite surprised to hear this. So I just want to know his anticipation on this. Perfectly fine, Harshita. We should move forward to the next participant.
Thank you, ma'am. Calling upon our next presenters, we have Ms. Shiv Priya and Professor Dr. Preeti Mittal presenting on the study of climate change and its impact on women's health, a legal analysis. Am I audible?
yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Very good afternoon to everyone.
Shipriya, I want to request before you start your presentation, be a little confined one and very focused on your points. Try to avoid reading the slides.
Okay,
right?
ma'am. Sure. 1 minute, ma'am.
Meantime, Harshita, can you let me know how many participants are left?
Sure, ma'am. Two more, ma'am.
All right, all right.
Actually, three. Sorry, ma'am. Three more.
It's okay, it's okay.
My slide is being shared.
Your screen has been shared, but your PPT is not visible. You need
It is
to
not-
double click on it.
I have. It's showing that my screen has been shared.
Screen has been shared, Shivpriya, but your PPT is not visible. I think you have selected your PPT. You don't need to select it. You just need to double click on it.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Is visible?
No, ma'am, it's not visible. You can just stop sharing and reshare the screen.
Okay. New share. Stop sharing. Now?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible. Can you just put it on full screen?
Okay.
It's okay, sir. Let's not waste. Yes,
Yes,
she's able
yes.
to get it done.
Okay.
Otherwise, it will again take 5 to 6 minutes to make her teach
Yes,
that.
ma'am.
Perfectly fine. Start, Shivpriya, please.
Okay. Topic of my presentation is study on climate change and its impact on women's health and legal analysis. This is an outline of my presentation. Firstly, introduction, then adverse effect of climate change on human health, then gender differences, and this lastly concluded with the conclusion. And coming on to the introduction, in this I have mentioned, 1 minute, ma'am, there is. Firstly, I have talked about what is climate change. That is a long-term shift in global or regional climatic pattern and is referred as a climate change. There are major impact of climate change. You can see in the diagram. Some of them are decreasing snow cover, change in precipitation pattern, increase in evaporation level, forest fire, etc. According to the Lancet health report, it has been mentioned that climate change will surely impact every person on the planet, but it is the most dangerous global threat in today's time. According to the World Water Development Report of 2021, there will be 800 million people which will be affected by the climate change, and majority of them constitute women, as they are considered as vulnerable population of the world. This is aggravated due to the present gender inequality in the world, which will also certainly worsen if current policies are not going to help them or address this in the future. As women play a very major role in the food production of the world, but yet it occupy a very less land ownership and inward income. Then going to be I'm going to discuss about the adverse effect of climate change on human health, as in generality. That we can see that there are direct effects like death due to heat stress, heat stroke, physical injury, death, poor air quality makes respiratory problems, cardiovascular illness, bad water quality has increased the illness such as cholera, diarrhea, etc. There is major food insecurity due to the rise of CO2 level in the world. There are many negative mental health outcomes can also be seen in the human population nowadays. Then coming on to the specific term, how this is affecting the women, then how climate change, gender differences, gender inequality has been affected, majorly affected by the climate change. There are some points like the differential repercussion of climate change are influenced by women's relative lack of equality in social, economic, and political sphere. There are many inequalities in every field. Women are not represented or given opportunities in political, economic, and social field. We can see in this in 21st century also. We can see this. Now, one of the major gender differences which we can see in the women land ownership and access relate, which is very much less as relation to male ownership, and their restrictive resources. They can how much they can use the resources. They are also being restricted to use such majority of resources to have and so that, and this restriction has led to adversely affect them more due to the climate change. Then gender-based role differences make women more prone to the climate change as they are more close to the household chaos. They are closely related to the environment, and they are worstly affected because they are much more close. As there is UN report that has said that due to the climate change, the girls of the household has to walk 15 kilometers more in the drought-prone area to collect water, which has adversely affected their health and also their education. They are not going to school because they have to collect water for their home. Then there is also a in India also there is law supporting that woman has a right to hold the land, but the customs and so our thinking has not made the women so much more so that they can have that ownership of the land in that area. Also, India has not recognized women as farmers. They are they constitute more than 50% of farmers, but they are not given so much rights and land ownership. This also negatively affect the women's health and had not been helping to cope up with the climate change. Then coming on to the adverse effect of climate change on women's health, there is a chart. I have collected this from the WEDO 2008. Some of them are mentioned here in my slide, like woman has a power for reproduction, and due to all this scarcity, natural disaster, displacement, diseases, they are worstly more affected by the ill effect of climate change. They are much more cases of anemic and malnutrition due to food instability, because they are mainly seen to have control over the household resources. क्या बन रहा है, क्या खाना है, तो अगर कोई scarcity होती है तो सबसे पहले उनको इफेक्ट होता है, because they are the main source. They are looking after the food in the home. And firstly, they are, due to this, the food instability and insecurity, they are the first one to be affected by malnutrition. Due to natural disasters, they are much more prone to sexual and physical violence, and also mental disorders. Complication in pregnancy has also arisen. There is one paper based on the sexual reproductive system from Bangladesh. Much more research has been done that how reproductive system has changed and have been affected negatively due to the climate change effects. Also, the water shortage due to climate change had negatively influenced the women's health. Then how there are many international policies framework which talks about climate change, but they are not inclusive of gender. There's a time to look forward to include to study climate change through gender lenses. In 2017, World Health Organization has named health impact of climate and environmental change as one of the 4 major health priorities for the next 5 years in 2017. There are many talks, many conferences has been held in COP 26 and 25 also. India has taken initiative to include women in their policy making, but it's on paper and nothing has been seen till now. Then Shanghai framework, its is section 19G and 25 also talks about gender inequality and how to cope up with this. The sustainable development goal, without attaining sustainable development goal number 5, that is gender equality, we cannot attain any other sustainable development goal, like sustainable development goal 13, climate change cannot be coped up without including women in the mainframe. Then Paris Agreement, COP 25, 26 has talked about women, but there are only 27% of the women heading the agreement conferences in relating to climate change. Great progress has been done in international policies field, but all policies framework face implementation issues. On the grand level, we cannot say.
Kindly conclude, please.
Okay. Then coming on to the Indian legal policy framework, we can see all the. Yes.
You just need to conclude it. Just don't talk about the laws which are already there. And
okay.
I think you're.
Then coming on to the suggestion, I can say how women are having a unique role in mitigating and adapting climate change. As women are very close to, as we can see, women are close to nature, and many tribal women has given many examples. Like Sikkim, in Sikkim, women have grown many sustainable food like radish and which can sustain climate change. There are many examples. What is missing majorly? What is missing is like women are not giving, not been given the decision-making power, and not been given, have not been acknowledged much in the policy making of the climate change. Coming on to the conclusion, developing nations such as India face enormous social, cultural, geographical, political, environmental factors that expose all population, particularly.
It's okay, it's okay, Shipriya, don't read it. First of all, it's okay, it's done. Okay. Shipriya, first of all, kindly don't leave the session until or unless you answer my queries. Okay. All right, this is my request. Yes.
Okay.
Again, I'm surprised that how environment degradation is a gender-based problem. How you all people, you have discussed it that due to the bad environment, respiratory problems are there, people are not able to breathe properly. Is this problem is only for the women only? Where it has been mentioned that respiratory problems are not there for men, except from the, just let me ask my queries, then you answer. Then I just believe that only reproductive, rights can be affected by somewhere or another, because it can affect the health of the unborn child of the women due to the environment degradation. But how you people, you have talked about the land ownership, where in our constitution, where in any law, it has been discrimination that women cannot be having a property right. It is an equal right for women and men. We should not, always take the each and everything to the specifically towards the women, inclined towards talk about the gender equality. I really don't think so that environment somehow is a gender-based problem. It is a problem of globe. And whatever the point, I was very curious to, when you have fronted your presentation, that is it so that how? But all your points, to be very frank, I found it very, very weak, because it is land ownership you talked about. There is no concern at all about in our constitution in anywhere that women are not entitled to own a land. And how does owning a land is affecting our environment? Again, I'm not able to understand this point. Again, you are talking about legal support. You will not get any kind of legal support when there is no problem for that.
Okay. Can I answer?
So, I don't, yes, go ahead.
Okay. Firstly, in my slide also, I have mentioned what is the ill effect of climate change, and also, and I have told that climate change adversely affects people at large. But then I have specifically mentioned how it affects more worstly or disastrously to the women, as they constitute a vulnerable group of people, because they
Why vulnerable? If you are talking about that we being a woman are vulnerable,
No, not
How?
we, because data says that, ma'am. The what a report has said. I am not talking like, okay, there are many
No,
data.
vulnerable is only that woman, what's your good name, Shipriya? Who is the woman who is expecting a child,
No,
right?
ma'am. No, like for example, during disaster, when there is any disaster, they are mitigation. When there are job insecurity, farming land has been, nowadays farming land has been accumulating. They are not, so male are just migrating to urban areas. So rural, women are left in the household. They are just looking on the land ownership is belonging to male, but they are doing the agriculture, all the agricultural things. They are they are just getting the more burden of that agricultural land and doing all the household work also. And for example, there is a data for that. And if there are disasters, so they are firstly to be, women and children are the first one to be affected by that. So I'm saying there could be a climate inclusion.
Is choosing the person that here women and children are residing and we are supposed to occur there?
What, ma'am?
How? You are saying that whenever women are left in the villages, males are shifting to the urban areas, and so that's why they are more prone to the natural disaster. Is earthquake knows about this fact?
They are not more prone. Of course, they are. Earthquake is not, but you can say that there are data. In tsunami also, in Nepal earthquake also, there is data that 54% of the population which is affected by Nepal earthquake was majority constituted of women and children. Then in tsunami also, majority of affected people are women. There are many.
Any reason for the same, Shipriya? Why?
Ma'am, I have submitted the paper. I have given
that area must be. Yes. What you said?
I have submitted the paper and given the references from where I have collected that data. This is the simple presentation for speaking.
No, that I got, Shipriya. But the areas which you are talking about where women and children are getting mostly affected, there must be the reason that population is in that area is more of women and children. It's nothing like that it's impacting more upon women and not upon men. I'm strongly disagree.
I'm not saying this case not impacting men. I'm saying the main concern of my topic is that the climate change, the policies which are being made by the country or the legal perspective, policies or recommendation should include a gender lens, because as a woman.
No, it should not. It should be, equal for men and women both. There should not be any gender specific favorism given to the women whenever talking about environment. This is my word. Like, yes, we can take a input from Mr. Sridhar as well.
It's okay, but this is the main topic. It has been discussed.
Yes, Shipriya, you have tried it to, justify the things, but
you are not going. I respect your view.
Yeah. Yes, I love to hear from Mr. Sridhar's side.
No, I think I think the sentence that she said, about implementation, in many of the cases, the problem is of how things are implemented. And when we say differential impact, for instance, I've been studying in the coal mining areas, because coal mining is and coal and power from coal is one of the biggest culprits for climate impact. And what we find is there is a huge problem of unwed mothers. There is a huge problem of how, because there is a lot of people moving from outside, a lot of truck operators, the local women are being exploited. So there are various dimensions to how women are being affected. Maybe the climate change by itself does not have a gendered perspective, because nature is not looking at whether you are, what gender you are, but how the society deals with it. How when people go to provide relief, after disaster. She mentioned about tsunami. I remember after tsunami, the more the single women who were alone in the village or something, they were not able to access the benefits. So in most of the cases, what we are finding is whether they are regulations or whether they are schemes, the way it is implemented is where the discrimination happens, and women tend to get affected a little much more, or children are neglected.
Difference, there is a
I
difference
think
between
she could not bring it out very effectively in a presentation.
yeah.
But I think that is what she's trying to express.
Yes, sir.
They-
Because of this lack of time also.
It's okay, Shipriya. These kind of deliberation, we are on the same platform and discussing a different concern. But again, I just want to ask Mr. Sridhar as well. My curiosity gets more into this topic. So when we are talking about that, women are not more accessible, whatever the policies are there. So we cannot say to the policymakers, to the lawmakers, that there should be a policy specifically for the women. Policies should be same for the men and women, and there should be some helpline, Shivya. It should be suggested that there should be some helpline for the women who are affected by any natural calamity, that they should get the whatever the reliefs are there in the law. But again, my point is certainly law should be same, whether it's women or men. Thank you so much.
Nobody is arguing against it. Nobody is arguing against it. The point is, like for instance, we have reservation for scheduled tribes or scheduled castes. So there are certain kinds of, so there are certain kinds of situations where, maybe women require, certain kinds of, I wouldn't say partiality. Contextual kind of support, right?
Yes.
So that is one, that is one kind of thing. The other is, I think there is a historical patriarchy in many of these kind of situations, which we are not able to break through socially. So it's not legal, and the kind of policies that are there. For instance, even today we are not able to get reservation in the parliament, or while reservation in the panchayat level we have been able to push through. We don't see why that discrimination has to be there. So what I see is when we are talking about climate, the whole idea of where we are seeing climate refugees, whether in Africa or now parts of Bangladesh, the women have to go and readjust to settle their families, and that is where they are more burdened, or they are getting more differentially affected.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Yes, Harshita, we should move further. Thank you, Shivpriya. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Moving on to our next participant, Mr. Saurav Chakrabarti, Professor Dr. Madhumita Darsaka, presenting on water pollution and impact on environment, a study with reference to artificial pollutants in India.
Good afternoon to you all. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Yes.
Thank you. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Well, thank you. Myself, Saurav Chakrabarti. I am a research scholar from Department of Law, Assam University, Silchar. And at the very outset, I would like to thank the organizers to have given me the opportunity to speak in this August gathering. So basically, my topic is based upon the something anthropocentrism. So the topic that I have chosen is water pollution and its impact on environment. A study with reference to artificial pollutants in India. Moving on to the objective of the study, the present paper analyzes the major outbreak of man-made pollutants which directly causes water pollution. Also, the study seeks to ascertain legal recourse required in order to fill up the lacuna within the environmental legislation enacted in India, and thereby it helps in sustaining a pollution-free environment. Next is the methodology that has been adopted for this paper is purely based on a doctrinal method. The paper has referred to statutes and existing secondary sources, for example, books, articles, journals, and websites. Coming to the introduction, as you all know, water is a precious gift of nature to humankind, and it is our shared responsibility to conserve and safeguard it from being contaminated. However, in the present scenario, we can see that people, for their own benefit and greediness, is exploiting the natural resources and by discharging pollutants and contaminating the clean and natural water. Also, like the water pollution certainly brings in waterborne contagious diseases, which negatively impacts the health and well-being of the humankind. Diseases such as cancer, diarrheal diseases, then cardiovascular diseases and respiratory diseases are most common health hazard, which are majorly found in India, rural and also in urban population nowadays. India is also backed after multiple and promising statutes governing the conservation of water resources. But still, due to the abstinence of abiding and practicing the guidelines mentioned under the statutes, water is being contaminated within a large extent and for our own greed as well. Next is the water pollution. As you all know, it refers to contamination of water bodies by pollutants, which makes it unsuitable for consumption and also for cleaning purposes. Water pollution is a very serious issue, and right to water pollution free environment has also been recognized under, as you all know, in Article 21 of Constitution of India. Coming on to the next slide is the major sources of water pollution. So I have divided into 4 major sources. First is the point source. It includes discharge of untreated and contaminated water influence from industries or sewage wastewater plants. Basically, it is a source of pollution which can be identified. And coming on to the next is the diffuse source or non-point source. It refers to multiple factors which leads to contamination of water bodies. Also use of like our excessive fertilizers on agricultural land, also in residential areas, and debris mixed with water by soil erosion are some of the prime examples we can get it. Also, the transboundary source can be determined as pollution arising from one country and entering through waterways of another country. Also, it damages the environment of the later country where it gets coming. Next is the artificial causes of water pollution. So first I have given is the industrial waste. It produces a tremendous amount of toxic chemical waste substances, which also includes like mercury, sulfur, nitrates, and various other harmful polluting agents. Many industries which have a very poor waste control management system discharge away the toxic waste into the water bodies. Then coming on to the next is the sewage and wastewater. The wastewater produced in household are drained away through sewage, which contains deadly pollutants like pathogens and other dangerous bacterial components. Diseases like malaria is a common example resulting from domestic waste. Next is the marine dumping. Countries with poor waste management system, in those countries, the garbage collected through municipal dumping, sewage tanks, and industrial effluents are dumped into seawater. Next, the dumped garbages contains plastics, then metallic compounds, obnoxious chemical waste, rubbers, and which takes maximum years to decay and decompose, and as a result directly causes water pollution. Next is the accidental oil leaks. It occurs when a ship, while transporting met an accident. So it is a sudden occurrence of the act, and of which directly results in discharge of toxic pollutants. Oil spills into the water bodies causes threat to the life of the marine ecosystem as well. Next is burning of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels contains a mixture of coal and oil, and when it is burnt, it discharges harmful sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide gases. The ash produced from the burn mixed into the atmosphere, and then occurs acid rain. Uh, then comes next is the chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Those are basically used by farmers for protection of water bodies, protection of agricultural crops from insects. And those chemical mixed with the rainwater and run off to the water bodies, causing harmful damages to the marine animals and their existence. Next is the radioactive waste, which are one of the most dangerous and toxic in nature. Radioactive waste generates while producing nuclear energy by mining uranium. Now, nuclear test for war and research purpose, and also improper disposal of such chemicals can contaminate the surface water and the groundwater.
Mr.
Yes,
Saurav,
ma'am.
we all know the different reason. Can you just come out on the suggestions and conclusion, please?
Yeah. Then coming on to the next effects of water pollution, I have already given. Then the legal frameworks, like Water Prevention and Control Pollution Act. One of the major shortcomings in this act is that it does not talk about prevention of and control of groundwater pollution by artificial ways or by artificial means. And well, coming on to the judicial decisions which impact the water pollution, there are certain landmark judgment that I have mentioned. Then coming to the conclusion, like I can conclude that the contamination by discharge of wastewater through artificial means and maintaining the anthropocentric attitude towards environment is the root cause of water pollution. Also, we need to abandon greed of exploiting natural resources in order to thrive for balance and a safe environment. Also in India, the right of natural and pollution-free environment has been a burning issue raised in many forums, and ultimately the same has been recognized as a fundamental right of Indian citizen. Also, ma'am, various acts has been passed by the Indian Parliament in relation to prevention of water pollution. Still, there is an acute need for protection of pollution of stream, lake, rivers by artificial means. It can only be controlled by amending new and effective statutes on water pollution created through man-made sources. And at last, I think government of India must establish youth monitoring committees to carry out regular environmental awareness programs in rural as well as in urban locations in order to achieve a sustainable and a pollution-free environment. Well, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request you, ma'am, if you have any question, you may ask. Presenting on Sustainable Development Goals, Goal 14, High Drinking Water with special reference to marine plastic pollution from land sources of India and legal framework for the prevention of marine plastic pollution. We have Ms. Emil Stanley to present their paper.
Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, ma'am,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
are audible.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon to one and all, respected chair. Today I'm going to present the topic on the Sustainable Development Goals, Goal 14, Life Below Water with special reference to marine plastic pollution from land-based sources of India and legal framework for the prevention of marine plastic pollution. So we all know that Sustainable Development Goals was enacted with an aim, or international community has given this particular goals with an aim to improve the development without affecting the future generations' right to use the environment. So when we are talking about the goal 14, which says about the life below water, it aims to conserve and sustainable use of oceans and seas and marine resources for a sustainable development. When we are looking into this particular goal, we can see that it is having 10 targets to be achieved by 2030. And when we are talking about life below water, we all know that 97% of earth water is full of salty, and we cannot talk about, or we cannot achieve this particular goal without looking into the marine environment. So over 3 million people depends upon the coastal resources for their livelihood, and oceans are interconnected, and a combined action is necessary for the protection of marine environment and ecosystem. So when we are looking into the goals, one of the major target to be achieved under goal 14 is to prevent and significantly reduce marine pollution of all kinds, in particular from land-based activities, including marine debris and nutrient pollution. So when we are talking about marine plastic pollution, we are looking into the production of plastic. Around 300 million tons of plastics are produced every year, and only a small percentage of this particular plastics are recycled. And if we are not recycling these particular plastics are in a proper way, these plastic wastes are reaching to the rivers and water bodies inland, and after that reaching, this particular plastics are automatically reaching to the marine environment. And if the plastics are reached to the marine environment or marine areas, we can see that the animals, marine animals and marine animals will be consuming it, and it will not be digested, and it will be blocking the digestive system, and finally the life of the species will be endangered. And when the plastics are broken into microplastics, we know that plastics are not degradable. It will be changed into microplastic, and small animals will be having this particular microplastic, and through food chain it will be reaching to the human beings, and it will be affecting the human life and health. And when we are looking into the report which is given by the UNEP, 80% of ocean plastic comes from the land-based sources, and most of these plastics are coming from the coastal countries and land resources. And when we are looking into the international conventions which are specifically dealing with the marine pollution, what can be done for the prevention of marine pollution? Marine pollution is happening through many ways. So many international conventions have been enacted by the international community to prevent all the marine pollution. So when we are looking into the Convention for the Prevention of Marine Pollution from Land-Based Sources, which was enacted or which was concluded in the year 1974, only few countries have ratified this particular convention. So when we are coming into India, what is this Indian scenario? We know that around 75,000 kilometers of coastal area is having in India, and as a member country to the United Nations Convention on Law of Sea, India is having a specific obligation to prevent marine pollution from land-based sources. So when we are looking into the legal framework which are enacted by Indian Parliament, we can see that Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, which says about the protection or prevention of prevention of water pollution from all activities. So if the provisions of Water Act is properly enacted, we can see that the inland water bodies can be saved from the pollution. And if the inland waters are properly saved, then it will automatically having an effect on the marine area also. And in Susheta versus State of Tamil Nadu, in this particular case, the Supreme Court has made it clear that state is having an obligation to protect the natural water bodies. So what are the laws which says about Indian laws which says about the marine pollution prevention? So Maritime Zones Act of 1976 enables the government to take measures to protection of marine environment. Indian Coast Guard Act 1978 states that the prevention and preservation and protection of marine environment and control of marine pollution is a function of Indian Coast Guard. And plastic management rules of 2021 were framed under Environmental Protection Act to provide a regulatory framework for managing plastic waste. So when we are looking into the Maritime Zones Act, Section 6, Section 7, Section 15, Section 15, all these sections were saying that central government is having the power to enact rules and regulations for preventing marine pollution. So when we are looking into the rules, whether central government has enacted any rules for the exercising this particular, we know that up to 200 nautical miles, India will be having the right to exploit the natural resources. But no measures have been taken by India to protect the marine environment under these particular sections. And in case of Coast Guard Act, Section 14 says that Coast Guard is having the duty to taking such measures which are necessary to preserve and protect marine environment and prevent, control marine pollution. But so far, no such activity or no such act or rules are made by the Indian Parliament to protect marine pollution. So as a conclusion, I will suggest that India have to make strong laws for the protection of marine environment, and proper laws preventing the use of single-use plastics and proper method of recycling of waste management policy should be framed by India. Thank you. That's all my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Our last participant is, we have Ms. Krupa P. Solanki presenting on a study on COP26 issues and opportunities. I would like to call Ms. Kripa P. Solanki presenting on a study on COP26 issues and opportunities. Ma'am, thank you, President.
Ritika, I think she is not there in the meeting, so we can move forward.
Before concluding, I would like to invite our honorable chairs to address the gathering and share their valuable inputs and feedback.
Yes, thank you so much, Harshita. We have already given a number of deliberation on the topic, wonderful discussions, wonderful platform. And actually, this is need of an hour, surely, because as we all know that environment is affecting globally. It's not a problem of any particular country. So we really need this kind of conferences, this kind of symposium, where great minds sit together and talk about on the different solutions for the same. So again, my suggestion would be for all the participants, rather than discussing the problems, rather than discussing on the same issue, which everyone knows. So we should be more focusing upon the suggestion. You should know, it should be a brainstorming session for everyone, that we should find out the different solution, that how to curb the problems. Problem is there, we all knew that. But what about the solution? So it should be more focused upon the solution side rather than discussing the same thing, same legislation which are already there. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. On this note, our fourth technical session for the International Symposium comes to an end. We are eternally grateful to our dignitaries, Professor Ahmed Naseem, sir, Mr. Sridhar Ramamurthy, and Professor Dr. Simranjeet Kaur Gill for sparing time for us and honoring us with their presence. And now I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the speakers for their participation and for sharing their valuable knowledge with all of us. With this, we conclude the event. Thank you for joining us.
Harshita,
Please stay back to record your attention.
Harshita, I think Mr. Sridhar wants to say something.
I'm so sorry, sir. Yeah.
There is the session. Yeah.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
No, thank you very much. And I think it was a wonderful session. And I wholeheartedly second what Dr. Simran told. Most often, a lot of these presentations are loaded with what is already known. So, it will be nice if in the subsequent sessions also, if the speakers are emphasizing on what their profession can come to resolve, because environment is such a multidisciplinary or a transdisciplinary subject that, from the perspectives they have, how they can lead to solutions would be very good. And I must congratulate all of you for an excellent session, and thank you very much.
I would like to request the honorable chairs to kindly switch on their cameras for the photograph. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. With this, we conclude the event. Thank you for joining us. You may stay back to record your attendance by filling this link posted in the chat box. Stay safe, everyone, and have a nice day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ashita, for being a wonderful host. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.